La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah.
God desires to found a community of the faith to manifest His glory and power. He will make the community grow and prosper to establish the love of God, righteousness, purity, piety, peace, and goodwill among men. This shall be a group of persons devoted to God. He shall strengthen them with His own Spirit and bless and purify them. This was the revelation given to Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the Messiah promised for all the world, in the Quran, the Bible, the Torah, the Vedas, and the scriptures of all the world's great religions.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I have been given the pleasant task of giving a brief description of the life and the mission of Mufti Muhammad Sadiq, who founded the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission, United States of America. Mufti Muhammad Sadiq was born on January 11, 1872, at Bera in Mufti Muhalla. After completing his matriculation entrance examination in his hometown, he was appointed as an English teacher in Jammu High School in 1890. With some assistance from Mulana Nuruddin Bervi. He visited Qadian for the first time at the end of the same year and was initiated at the sacred hands of the Promised Messiah on January 31st, 1891. His father, Mufti Inna Yatullah, had passed away before Mirza Ghulam Ahmad proclaimed to be the Promised Messiah. His mother, Faiz Bibi, joined Ahmadiyya between 1896 and 1897. After her bayat, she was returned to Bera from Qadian. The Promised Messiah walked to the Tonga stand to bid farewell to Mufti Muhammad Sadiq and his respected mother. The Promised Messiah had ordered some food for their journey, but it was brought unpacked. The Promised Messiah tore up a yard of cloth from his turban and gave them the food wrapped in it. Mufti Muhammad Sadiq, who stated, "It became my routine to carefully note down all the sacred sayings of the Promised Messiah from the day of my bayat. These collected notes were then sent to kind friends in Kashmir, Kapoor, Dhala, Ambala, Lahore, Sialkot, Africa, and London to nourish their faith and to attain my requital. Friends at Lahore used to gather around me for spiritual nourishment when they heard that I had returned from my Imam in the Rural Aman, that is Qadian. Thirsty souls were satiated with the pure and wholesome spiritual water, which further increased their thirst and longing for our beloved." Some of the service rendered during the blessed life of the promised Messiah, peace be upon him. Bishop George Alfred Lefroy gave a public lecture in Lahore on living messenger and innocent prophet on May 18, 1900. The public was given the opportunity to ask questions after the speech. Dr. Sadiq stood up and rendered the bishop speechless. The Archbishop of Lahore arranged another public lecture on May 25th to avenge his prior defeat. The promised Messiah wrote an article at the request of Mufti Sadiq that was read by him with great enthusiasm to the audience after the bishop's lecture. The city of Lahore became alive with the slogans of Allahu Akbar by the Muslims. The bishop was overwhelmed and said, "My addresses are for other Muslims only. You an Ahmadi, I will not talk to you." Mufti Muhammad Sadiq radiallahu anhu left for England on March 10th, 1917 as a missionary. He remained involved in the propagation of Islam during his voyage. He reached London on April 17, 1917, and joined Qazi Muhammad Abdullah, who was already active in spreading the message of Islam. Mufti Sadiq radiallahu anhu spent about 2.5 years in England and published many tracts during his stay. He preached the message of Islam to important personalities including King George V, the Queen of England, Secretary of State, Lord Montego, the British Prime Minister, Lord Mayor of London, and Prince Yorihito Hakashi Fushi of Japan. Mufti Sadiq delivered public speeches in Hyde Park, Central Hall, Mission House, and in various churches in London. He was awarded honorary degrees and diplomas for his contribution to religious knowledge. When Mufti Muhammad Sadiq was in England, the leader of the faithful, Khalifatul Masih II, directed him to establish the first Ahmadiyya mission in America. Mufti Sadiq sailed from England on January 26, 1920, and reached Philadelphia in the second week of February. The Immigration Department blocked his entry into the USA on the grounds that he was not allowed to preach the message of God. He faced the whole situation with great courage and patience and filed an appeal to the Department of Justice in Washington for entry. He also informed Khalifatul Masih who prophesied that America cannot and will not stop our entry into the country to establish our mission. Mufti Sadiq's appeal was granted. He had started preaching on the coast even before he was granted entry into the country. The newspapers, including the public religions, had already begun to publish reports on Ahmadiyya Muslim belief and objectives and purpose of Tabligh. After nearly 2 months, Mufti Sadiq came to New York. He rented a room but was given a notice by the landlady to vacate it because of some instigation by some Christian preachers. He found another place and continued Jihad Akbar, the greatest jihad of preaching, with all the vigor and dedication, the message of Islam for 3.5 years. The period of his stay in America, the Ahmadiyya Muslim mission was established on strong footings, and he soon started the Muslim Sunrise, the voice of true Islam. The first issue was published on July 21st, and 3,000 copies were printed and distributed free from 74 Victor Avenue, Highland Park, Michigan, USA. This issue had the full-size picture of Khalifatul Masih II and his message for local Ahmadis. The first House of Allah for Prayer was established in Detroit. A dedicated and sincere Jamaat began to emerge in response to Mufti Sadiq's prayer and efforts. He wrote, "I prayed for 3 things when I left England for America: a sincere Jamaat of Ahmadiyya Muslims, construction of a mosque, and starting a new journal. In spite of all the difficulties, God Almighty has answered my prayers and gave me a sincere Jamaat during the first year. The Muslim Sunrise was started in the 2nd year, and a mosque and a house was constructed during the 3rd. In one of his reports from America, Mufti Sadiq wrote, "I am not worried about facing big opposition because God is with me, and I am supported by the prayers of Khalifatul Masih and pious and noble members of the